What is going on, YouTube? Patrick here. Time for some live thrifting. I was not able to get out on Saturday like usual, so I ended up going out 2 evenings last week since I knew ahead of time that I wasn't going to be able to go on Saturday. What I've learned is I definitely do better on Saturday mornings than I did other nights. So I think I ended up going out Tuesday night and Friday night. So this visit is Friday night Tuesday night last week. And I went to the Savers in Newington, Connecticut. So I always kind of just have the same route every time I go to these places. I'm sure you guys do too. They've been putting some like video game controllers over here. I went and checked it out. That one was actually not a bad controller that I would have probably picked up, but the nubbins were completely destroyed in my mind. So I'm just like, I've found enough controllers with broken nubbins over the years that just not does not make sense to pick them up. If they've been good, I probably would have bought it and just tossed it in my bin of controllers to use. You can see there's the video games up top up there. Almost nothing there. So I headed to the back. This Savers, in my mind, is notorious for not really having any electronics. There's usually a couple of monitors and then some DVD players, and that's about it. And you can see there is that karaoke machine there. I do see like a tracer maybe there on the shelf that I should have taken a look at. There's that Logitech ergonomic keyboard there. That's worth about $20, so may have not been a bad pickup. But this Apple keyboard looking thing, I didn't know what it was. It looked super interesting. That caught my eye more than anything. I did end up putting it back. It was only worth maybe $20, $25 with the AC adapter, which this did not have. It also needed a battery cover if you wanted to use it on batteries, and that was missing. So just overall, not a great pickup at all, so I just left it. Headed around the corner here to the kitchen supplies. Right, the shelves look pretty bare, you guys, honestly. A couple of interesting things. I've seen more and more of these Ronco rotisseries lately. They're just everywhere. And that completely links up with the research I've done, where it's just like those just have come so far down in price, and so the desirability is just not there anymore. You never know with that stuff. It may end up going back up in value at some point, but for right now, it's definitely not worth anything. There's a really nice looking cast iron pan there, but you can see there's a huge scratch in the bottom. And honestly, even the brand on it wasn't one of the better ones that I've seen out there. So headed around the corner here to the other part of the kitchenwares, right? All of the pots and pans, all of the bunt pans and muffin pans and stuff, right? So I'm usually looking for Nordic ware in the bunt pan section here. Definitely have not found a ton this year, but have in the past. And it's just one of those things where if you go to enough thrift stores, you're eventually just going to keep running into it. And sometimes you get lucky and you find an entire collection that's been donated. I know that one of the thrift stores in our area has usually a pretty good supply of it, but a lot of times their prices are a little bit higher. However, one day a week they have like a 50% off day, and if you can go in on that day, the prices actually aren't too bad. So next I headed back to the sporting goods. If you watched my last live thrifting video, you know that Amber and I found a whole bunch of baseball gloves, mostly Rawlings, and so of course now I'm going to see if I could find some more of those. Headed by the bags there, didn't see anything, and then noticed that there was a lot of golf clubs here, so like figured I'd stop and take a look. Most of it, as far as I could tell, was junk. If you see something in there that I should have taken a quicker look at or a longer look at, definitely let me know. And I was about to head over to the toys when something caught my eye over here. So I headed back to the kitchen goods, and what was over here behind me was a DVD VHS. It's an Emerson, and did end up picking this up. Unfortunately, did not work. The VHS was working fine, but the DVD drawer would not open. So probably should have, knocked that over. Better put that back really quick here. I probably should have plugged it in and tested the door at least. Usually when I'm in a hurry and they're like $5, $6, I just buy them and don't even really worry about it. I normally will have 20% off when I go to Savers thrift stores. So then, it ends up being more like $4, $4 to $5. So I'm not really too worried about it, considering I'm not really finding them that often. Next stop, the toy aisle here. Again, definitely, if you see something up on the shelf up here that I should have taken a look at, let me know. I've usually got some pretty specific stuff that I have in my mind that I'm looking for, but always trying to learn new stuff. And honestly, there's usually so many toys that you could spend as much time as you want looking through the toys, looking everything up, learning different categories. So, I definitely try to spend some time every couple of months going through some new toys, trying to learn some new stuff, but there's still going to be stuff I miss. There's always new things to learn about in toys, which is why it's so much fun, honestly, to flip toys. Right next to it here are the board games, still kind of depleted from the holiday season and honestly probably just the winter season. So didn't really spend much time there. I also don't spend a ton of time in the plush section. Probably I could. I see some other resellers doing pretty well there. But definitely did take a look at the horses there. Always looking for some Schleich ones. One of my nieces definitely collects them, so I'm always looking on for more horses for her. Her birthday's coming up, so if she's watching, big spoiler for her, I suppose. You can tell, like, the last Savers video, the last video I did on Saturday, we were at the Savers in a different part of the state, and the toy shelves there are just filled with toys. And so coming here to the one that's in Newington, you can see just how many empty pegs there are. And this has kind of been the case at this Savers for a long time now, and it's pretty depressing, right? Like, I don't know if it's just donations or what's going on, but the other one, they almost have too many toys where they can't even keep up with it. However, you can see I just found those Nerf darts there. I did end up picking those up. One of them had like a 30 pack of darts in it, worth maybe about $10 to $15, and then the others, the rest of them were 10 packs. So there were 8 of the Nerf whistling darts. I'll pop up a comp on the screen here so you guys can see. And then there was one like pack of 10 classic darts, which actually was kind of the winner of it. It's probably going to sell for like $15 by itself. The 8 that were the same, I'll probably do a multi-quantity listing for that and just set it up for something like $12 free shipping. And you can just add as many to your cart as you want, kind of stuff. Here's the case in this Savers. Not much going on there right now. I have found some pretty good stuff at the Savers in the past, but it was not this day. So gonna head, I think I got 1 or 2 more things to look at in this one before we head to the next one, but I always do go through the books. I love to look at the sci-fi fantasy section just because that's something I'm really a big fan of. And I know a lot more of the books in this area, of which ones to look for. Of course, everybody knows to look for Harry Potter. There is a full set of the 5 core Game of Thrones books there. Of course, they want $2.99 each, even with 20% off. Right, I'm going to be paying $12 for it, and they sell for, or maybe even $10, something like that. I think it ends up being about a $15 to $20 sale anyway. There's Ready Player One. Definitely, I really liked it. And then there was Ender's Game Racket. That's one of my favorite books of all time, honestly. I think probably more for guys than girls for both of those books. And then for Ready Player One, definitely if you're from the 80s, it's nostalgia is like heavy, I would say. That's probably why I liked it so much. But yeah, for the Game of Thrones books, definitely not going to be worth it to pay $2.99 each, or even with 20% off, whatever that would be. Just not going to do it, right? I think it ends up being $12. If I could have gotten them at a garage sale for 25 cents, 50 cents, I would have bought them, because at that price it would have been maybe $2, flipping it into 15. Definitely a good purchase at that point. Headed through the hard goods section. The only section I left in here were the mugs, just because I'm definitely curious what you guys' experience was with some of these. There was this Dunkin' Donuts one up here. They wanted, you can see, $1.50 for it. And so I did a little bit of comping on it while I was in the store. Normally I'm looking for Starbucks and always looking for Death Wish coffee. I've never found one, but definitely going to keep my eyes out for it. Those can go for big money. The Starbucks one's usually more of a reseller bread and butter item, where it's going to sell for like $7 to $15. I've also found a few that sold anywhere from $20 to $40, but again, never going to be selling any of these that I've found for a ton of money. But again, pretty good bread and butter item. So anyway, I looked up that Dunkin' Donuts mug just because I thought maybe they started to go up in value, maybe they were kind of interesting. And of course, this one was like their most common mug that's out there, selling for like $7, $8 free shipping. So left that behind. Almost done in this store, as I mentioned. Did head down this aisle here, which is kind of a fun aisle in my mind, just because I've been finding pictures, and then you can see the knife blocks up on top. So definitely looking for Cutco knife blocks. That's about the only one that I've seen that's really going to make any money. But there was one other thing. I can see it up there on the shelf. I think, yep, there it is. I'm gonna pick it up in a second. There's this Ninja pitcher, which I love to flip Ninja stuff. Especially like parting it out. Um, they make coffee makers. They have blenders. This was like an iced tea maker or an iced coffee pitcher maker. So I hadn't ever seen that one before. Wasn't sure what it was worth. I'll put it back in a second though. It really was not worth picking up. Only worth like $10 to $15. And they had it priced, I think, you guys probably saw the price. I think it was $7, something like that. So it just really wasn't a lot of meat on the bone for me, even though it did appear to be brand new. But definitely, you guys be on the lookout for Ninja stuff. The blenders and the food processors, those I think have done really well for me. And then the coffee makers also have done pretty well. So you can do pretty good with those. Again, parting them out. You don't really want to sell them as the full units. I spent apparently a lot more time staring at these pictures and all of the different water mugs and stuff than I thought I did. So like I said, I did comp that thing and then decided to put it back. Just wasn't really enough there for me to want to do it. Headed back around a little bit before getting out of here. And this, I noticed it the first time I walked by it in this video, but just noticed it now. It's this cast iron pot on top of like a warming stand. And I was like, this was interesting enough for me to spend the time to like disassemble it and see. It was brand new, although not in the package. So I did do a little comping on this as well. And they were selling for about $50 free shipping. Wow, Patrick, almost broke it and would have had to buy it for sure then. The brand was not bad, but there was only a few sold on eBay, and they were brand new in the box and sold for $50 free shipping. So for $29.99, which is what they wanted here, just was not worth it. I think maybe if I could have got it for $5 to $10, I may have picked it up. Right? Even $50 free shipping, if I could have gotten it maybe $40 free shipping, it would have been a pretty good flip at like $5 to $10. But for $30, definitely not. All right, over to the second savers in this video. This was Friday night last week. Headed to the back, hit the electronics first, and what do I see here? Another DVD VHS player. This one I ended up putting back because I took the time to plug it in and see if I could get all the parts to work. And the good news here that I found out, it didn't even turn on at all. So very frustrating, right? You always are really happy to find these because, again, these are very similar to the coffee mugs I was talking about. Definitely a bread and butter item along with VCRs in my mind. So sad that it didn't work at all. Glad that I found out in the store though and didn't waste the $5 to $7, whatever it was. Looking through the electronics, you guys can see like definitely a little bit bare on the shelves right now. I do always walk over to the wires and check them out as well. I found some pretty good wires over the years and some good AC adapters. One of the other guys I follow on YouTube, he just found a Bose wire the other day and sold it for $100, and it was just hanging on the shelf there for $2.99. So pretty good pickup when you can find that kind of stuff. Obviously, you're not going to find those every day. There was a little camera there. I decided to take a quick look at that. It was broken, so put it back. As I mentioned earlier in the video, last week I had found a whole bunch of Rawlings baseball gloves here, so I decided to go through the gloves again, and there actually was a couple good ones, including this one. They wanted $5 for it, and this was the exact model of glove that I had picked up last week, but the two I bought were new. So I decided, why not just hold off on buying any more right now? Let's sell what I bought for last week first, and maybe I'll pick up some more at some point. That one was in okay shape. I think in used condition it would have sold for like $15 maybe, something like that. I always walk by the bag section on the way to the toys. That one caught my eye, but didn't end up being anything super interesting, so just put it right back, didn't even worry about it. All right, so walked by the shoes, of course, didn't see anything there. This place is always just completely devoid of good shoes. I think maybe if you get there when they open, you might find something good. I mean, there's so many people who are buying shoes all the time, maybe there's something good. I did pop that solitaire game into my cart, but did end up putting it back. They used to be worth some money a few years ago. Seems like the price has come down on that quite a bit. So, but got to check, make sure maybe the price came back up during the winter. You never really know. I thought that bag of toys there was a bunch of Peppa the Pig stuff and some Muppet Babies. I did put it in the cart and did end up buying it. The Muppet Babies were part of a 6-figure set, which there was only 3 of them. So maybe I can sell them for $10 free shipping. And then the Peppa the Pig, I think there was 10 figures of that as well. They sell for about $1 each in lots. So I'll probably put that up for something like $14 free shipping. That car there is like a dino transformer. I had bought a few of them the week before. They were worth about $7 to $10 each for most of them. So I think it was $4.99, just really not worth buying at that price. Definitely, I like looking through all these toys, so I didn't fast forward through it this week. Just wanted to give you guys the chance to take a look also and see if there was anything interesting here that I should have picked up. I know that there was this guy here, the little crab guy from Moana. I probably should have bought him, unless that's coming up. I'm looking at the preview footage, so hard to tell sometimes what all I'm seeing. But I definitely saw him when I was looking through earlier and noticed I missed him. There's also a ton of Lego minifigures, you guys. So take a look as I'm looking through. There's the crab guy. I did buy him in another bag here in a few minutes, but he ended up being worth like $15. And so I didn't really know what the other figure was in there. And honestly, the bag that I buy him in was for a completely different reason. And he ended up being worth more than the other guy was. So kind of funny there. Lots of the Legos had been behind the counter. I'll show you guys what they've done with the case here. I don't know what's going on, but everything that was in the case is now pretty much out in the store, including all the Lego minifigs. And they haven't sold even out in the store, so that tells me there's probably nothing worth anything there. But you never know. Sometimes there's that one Lego minifigure that has value and you just didn't realize it. So yeah, still looking through all the toys here. Like, right, the disparity from this Savers to the other one with how many toys are on the shelves is so wide, you guys. Like, just look at how many there are here, and there was almost none at the other one. Oh, my throat was going dry. So there you go. There was the crab guy. That's the one that I bought. There was a big Moana figure in that bag. Maui from Moana. And he was heavy, and I was just like, this guy seems like he's pretty cool. So I ended up picking him up. He's going to sell for like probably $10 free shipping, so not really worth a ton. He was part of a Disney store set that had sold. I think the crab guy was too, but for whatever reason, he's worth a lot more money. So never really know with that stuff, never really question it. Just go with it, move on, make some money. So again, looking through the toys here, right, I tend to look for some different play sets. I'm looking for some of the bigger Transformers. I have found some of those on the shelves here before. Looking for some Imaginext stuff, maybe with a bunch of the Imaginext figures to come with it. And then, honestly, vintage stuff too. Gonna look for some of that. There's a dragon over there that I thought was pretty interesting. I looked him up quickly while I was getting this video ready. And even if he was with his remote control, which he wasn't, he'd only sell for maybe $15 to $20. Maybe worth it if he had the remote again, but he didn't. So really, really not worth it. A little bit more on the board game shelf here than at the other Savers, but even still pretty light. Mostly puzzles, I think. There's a lot of puzzles mixed in right now. And that's not really something I'm interested in flipping, especially when they're used. Right? You've probably heard this from other people, but even if you count all the pieces, they may not be all there, if that makes sense, right? Because you may go to build it and find out, oh, I have an extra piece that doesn't go to this puzzle. And so you'd have to literally build it, excuse me, in order to know if it's all there or not. And like that's not really good time value money unless you're into building puzzles, and that's something fun to you. So all right, back in the kitchen gadgets, and there is something down here on the bottom shelf that catches my eye. It is a little Cuisinart attachment. And it says it's something like a pasta maker. I haven't fully looked this up while I'm at home now, but I did end up picking it up. I'll throw a comp up on the screen here. Worth about $30 to $50, I think, if I remember. I'm not looking at the comp, so I don't even know what I'm putting up on the screen right now. But you can see I opened it up. I checked to make sure all the parts were there. It was. So this was just one of those things where I'm like, it's not new, but it's in the box and it looked like it was complete. It was super interesting to me. One of those kind of things where it kind of almost looks junky in the box because it's so beat up, but it was what's inside the box that mattered, right? So I'm constantly looking for this type of stuff. And like, of course, now I took it out of the box and I'm like, can I actually get this thing to go back in? Thankfully, I did. Oh man, you guys, life of a reseller, right? Always fun, always trying to get it to work. Of course, I put it back on the shelf on the video, looked it up, and then pulled it back out again anyway and put it in my cart. It's funny to see what you've done in the moment that once you're watching it on the video, you're like, what are you doing, Patrick? Like, what are you doing here? I'm sure if Amber had been with me, she would have been like, why'd you put that back on the shelf? Put it in the cart. That's always the rule for me. You've always put it in the cart. Sorry about that. Apparently they were testing the fire alarm in the building at that moment, so I had to pause for a second and start again. So headed up to the front of the store, the electronics here, they had a couple little things down there. That Hot Wheels set looked pretty cool, but it was open and it was $45 and looked like they're selling used in the more like $30 range. So definitely did not pick that one up. Really wanted to, of course, because it looked really cool. I looked through all of the electronics here. It's still pretty thin, which, that's never as much fun as when there's a ton of stuff to look at. But yeah, made sure to go through everything here. I'm looking for cameras, right? 35 millimeter cameras. A couple of them are doing really well right now. I'm also looking for digital cameras. I try to find them when they're 12 megapixels or higher. That's usually going to be worth selling. Anything lower than that, you might have a shot, but definitely I'm starting at a 12 megapixel and then looking up the model. I'm seeing a couple CD players in here. I don't generally buy those. I've never had very much luck with them. Most of the time, they just don't work. So I gave up on those a while ago. It's kind of the same thing with tape players, honestly. I've seen a lot of other people testing those and getting them sold, and just like, I want to say like 19 out of 20 of the ones that I have purchased just do not work. So I've given up on buying any kind of cassette player, tape player, anything like that. Recorders or some of the desk units, I might do that. You see me holding up this unit there? I was trying to figure out what it is. It says it's the final word. What this ended up being was something you could record a message on before you pass away. And yeah, it might have had some value, but just like I felt like it was a little bit too morbid to actually pick up and try and make some money on. So I ended up putting it back. Just did not want anything like that, on my conscience, I guess. I don't know. Just we have enough death in our lives without having to sell items like that, I guess. So I headed over here to the video games, and of course I took a quick look on my way into the store and I didn't really see anything. And somebody had put a picture in front of it, so I thought that was really odd, but did make sure to take a quick look. You guys can see it was just a bunch of nothing up there. But you still gotta look. Headed over to the case, and oh my gosh, what has happened over here? It looks like they took out all of the shelving that was back here. I think what had happened is that there was the changing rooms here, and now they don't offer those anymore ever since COVID started. Oh my gosh, I just about knocked that off there. And it had ripped a bunch of the paint off, so I think they're repainting it. And what had happened was then they put all of the stuff that was back there that was kind of just taking up space, they put it back out in the store and just tried to sell it. And I saw a bunch of it when I was out there, and it's just not selling. So they just really don't have any understanding of what's good. And you can see I only spent about a couple seconds looking at that stuff before I decided to call it a day. All right, well, that is going to do it. You're going to see me walking here a little bit more, but that was basically it for this trip. I did head back to the books, but there was really nothing very interesting back there that day. Yeah, like I said, that's going to do it for this week. If you've enjoyed this content, please do smash that like button. Really, really love to see the likes coming through. And then if you are interested in subscribing, I've got, right, of course, just like every channel, you hear people saying, oh, I've got 80% of my viewers are not subscribed. It's the same with me. So I would love to see you subscribe. If you're still just going to watch and aren't interested in subscribing, that's okay too. I don't mind at all. Once again, my name is Patrick, and thank you very much.